think we are live in the group. Seems like there's a little bit of interruptions here, but hopefully the internet stays stable. I have no kids at home right now, so there are not creatures all over my house soaking up all the good internet, which I find happens when I try to make a video when they're at home. But they're gone off to their dads for this weekend, so I get a quiet down weekend, which is amazing because it's a lot. Like, they only go to their dad's house every other weekend, but I just find that by the end of those 10 days or 11 days before they go to their dad's, I'm wrecked. I am worn out of being the mom taxi and the 24/7 ATM machine that they seem to love to use me as. I mean, I love them, don't get me wrong, but it can be a lot, right? It can be really draining and it can be really tiring. And I do look forward to getting my weekend every other weekend to just relax. So I'm here working from home today. I'm in my cozies. There's actually painters here too. They're painting the upstairs, the kids' bedrooms and the hallways because we haven't painted them since the kids were little. And because we knew, right? 3 kids in the house are like got tricycles going everywhere and there's like hoverboards and all the crazy crap and there's balls flying through the air 24/7. The paint was destroyed. There was, scuffs and scratches and big dents in the wall from, knee height down all through the house. And I said, when you're bigger, we will repaint the house and get it all redone. So we're starting that project now. And we have a really good family friend who's given us a great deal, thank goodness, because it can be a lot to paint a house. But so yeah, the house is in a bit of an uproar. With stuff's everywhere, but whatever, it's good, right? It's a blessing. I'm grateful to be able to do this now. But the fact that my kids are big and there's no more, hoverboards going into the wall, that's kind of sad. But anyways, with everything that ends, something new begins. So soon they will be driving my car and I'll have to worry about that. That will be fun, but I'm not quite there yet. Sadie's actually getting her learner's permit this summer, my oldest. So we'll see how that goes. Hey, how's it going, Pebbles? Nice to see you here. Happy Friday. Is the quality of this video good? Am I lagging or breaking up, or can you hear me good? Is what I want to know. Hopefully my internet is stable. I'm getting funny readings. That's it. It looks like I'm getting funny readings from my stream, so I hope that you can hear me. Let me know if you can't anyway. So it's good to have you here. So yeah, as I was saying, my house is in an uproar, but it's a quiet weekend for me, and I'm excited to have some downtime, and I'm excited to, just breathe, right? Just have some de-stress time. Good? You can hear me? Amazing. Love it. Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, so last night, it was one of my girlfriend's birthdays. And if we are friends on Facebook, then you might have saw in my story, I posted it, that we went out for dinner and there was, 6 of us girlfriends who went out and we had a really good time. It was super fun and really great to celebrate, a friend and her birthday and all that stuff. But I was talking to the girls because we end up invariably talking about, our work and what we do. And I was talking about my work for a while. And, these girls that I went out with, I've known them for years, right? A long time, like 20 years, right? They're some of my closest girlfriends. And we got to talking about how it used to be when I was sick. You know what I mean? And like nobody really knew that I was sick. They just knew that I had tummy issues and that I was, I was always upset about them, but they didn't really get it. They didn't really see, right? They didn't know that the bloating was disgusting because I hid it as well as I could. They only knew me at the weight that I was at the time. They didn't make comments about my bad skin or my confusion. They didn't know about the brain fog, like all the things that I was going through at the time. But what they did know about was that I wasn't around as much, right? Like, all of us have always been really social. We were friends since university days. We still love to go out on the town. But as I got into my 30s, right, like the gut issues had really started to take over. And even going to restaurants used to fill me with anxiety, right? If I got an invitation, I'd be like, oh God, first, like, what am I going to wear, right? I have to wear something that kind of holds it all in. And then, it means I can't eat lunch because, if I eat lunch, then the bloating will definitely be worse by dinner time. And that will be embarrassing. So, okay, no lunch, and I'm already starting to get anxious and stressed out about what I'm going to do to be able to go out for dinner and be normal, which I wouldn't be anyway. And then would be the worry that, well, what do I eat, right? Because if I eat regular, then I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be gassy and blown up. But worst of all, I'm going to be running to the bathroom. I'm going to need to know where the bathroom is, be able to get there. Hopefully, it's not like a big production. It was just such a source of constant anxiety. All the thinking that I would have to go around going out for dinner with my friends. And over time, as things got worse and the symptoms got worse, the results would be more drastic. And then, I would have to leave a restaurant every now and then if things got really bad. I would have to go home because I'm not going to be running back and forth to the bathroom or spending the whole night in the bathroom at a restaurant, right? And it's just so much stress, And then came the phase where I just didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to go to restaurants because it wasn't worth it, right? I couldn't handle eating restaurant food because it would just affect me too badly. And I couldn't do it. And then it's too embarrassing if you don't go to a restaurant and eat. Like, you seem really weird, right? And people make comments. And it was so much of my perception about what other people thought about how I was behaving. I wanted to appear to be normal, made me feel so not good enough, made me feel so full of anxiety and stress. And yeah, it's just so many layers that come along with that. But overall, it really took such a hit on my self-confidence and how I felt in front of my friends, So fast forward towards the end of my struggles, and my friends were getting used to me saying no. They'd be going out for dinner, and I'd be like, no, making excuses, saying no over and over again. And over time, like, God loved them, but they just didn't want to hear the no's anymore, so I stopped getting the invitations, And so you'll hear me talk about, towards the very end of my journey, I'd be lying at home at the end of the night after the kids went to bed and the phone hadn't rang. Nobody called me to go out because they knew I would just say no and I wouldn't go anyway, and that was just how it ended up for me, right? And so the whole idea of getting an invitation to go out for dinner to a restaurant was not a good one. It wasn't fun, it wasn't nice, and it was just an awful experience. Gave me anxiety and made me end up feeling worse about myself. Do you know what I mean? Worse about myself than I already did, right? So fast forward to today, and last night, me and my girlfriend we went out to Piatto, which is a local restaurant here that does handmade pizzas. I had a regular pizza with a regular crust, not even a cauliflower crust, which is fine and yummy, but I just did a regular crust and I was fine, and we stayed at the restaurant after we ate. We stayed for hours talking, and having whatever drinks and coffee and tea and whatever like that. And it was wonderful. I didn't have to worry about where the bathroom was. I didn't have to have anxiety over what I had on. Right? Now, I did have on, little leggings that were nice and snug, but and a longer shirt on top, right? But I wasn't wearing it to hide anything, and I wasn't feeling self-conscious about bloat or about diarrhea kicking in or a crazy gas happening or uncomfortable indigestion, Those things don't come into my mind anymore. They don't hold me back from accepting an invitation to go out for dinner with my friends, They don't stand in the way of me having a good time, having that social connection, that support system of my girlfriends. That's so important to me, and it still was then, but it was too difficult to take advantage of that and to, enjoy their friendship before. So it was a real eye-opener for me last night. And when I go out, to eat at a restaurant now and I'm able to do it without the stress and the anxiety, God, I don't know if I'll ever get used to it, because I always think back to remember when you couldn't do this, right? So I'm just sharing this story with you today because I want you to know that it is possible, right? I'm not making all this up. This is my story. This is my experience. I know some of you have different sort of experiences, but this is the one that I have to share with you. And I just hope that if any of you out there can relate to the way it used to be for me, that this can give you some hope that things can be done, right? That you can heal your gut, that you can widen your bandwidth for foods, right? I mean, I don't eat pizza every day. If I ate a gluten crust every day, I'd probably get my gut issues back pretty quick because it's not, the best quality of wheat and all the things. But I can have pizza now and it doesn't sideline me forever. You know what I mean? My digestion is back on track enough that I've got that bandwidth to absorb the insult of having a low quality type of food, right? Now it was homemade pizza. It was good pizza. I'm not trying to say the food was bad, but it wasn't organic sprouted wheat of the highest quality. You know what I mean? It was just regular old wheat. They bought at the grocery store, I'm sure. So it didn't kill me. You know what I mean? Had a great night, had a great sleep, back to normal today. You know what I mean? And it's just such a gift, and I will never ever stop taking it for granted. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. That's what I'm doing here in this group, is to kind of share my message, to let y'all know that there's things you can do, right? There's hope. There really is a way past these digestive issues, so you can live a full life. You can feel good with loads of energy, and really just show up the way you want to be showing up, right? Living the life that you want to be living. So if you want to learn more about this, about my story, about the things that I did to get to this great place that I'm in health-wise today, I would love you to come and join me. I'm offering a new free masterclass the end of the month, May 29th. That's like 3 days from now. It's coming up fast. Holy cow. So yeah, that's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I am going to be going live on Zoom. The link to register, I'm going to pop it here in the comments of this video when I'm done. I would love you to register. I would love you to come. It's called the 5 Ways That I Achieve Freedom from Gas, Bloating, Indigestion, and Weight Gain without taking meds, without going on a diet, or without giving up the foods that I love. So we're going to talk about lots of different things, like I said, but basically we're going to cover, how to get rid of those embarrassing digestive symptoms for good, right? So you can end up feeling confident when you go into the boardroom at work, or the bedroom with your significant other, or the family reunion in front of all your cousins, or whatever it is that you want to show up with your best self, wearing what you want to wear, and not having to hide under those baggy clothes, right? Not having to hide that bloat that you're so embarrassing. Pebbles, you love the information, learning so much. I'm so glad to hear it. I'm always here to try to help educate and enlighten, and it doesn't always have to be dark doom and gloom. It can be fun and lighter stuff too, but I'm really glad that the information is helpful to you, and I hope it's helpful to everyone else in the group, right? So on the web class, we're going to talk about all this stuff, right? How to take control back over your body without having to, do the things like medications or over-the-counter meds even, or complicated diets where you got to cut everything out. It's hard to follow, really restrictive, and they never really give those lasting results anyway, right? I just want people to know that they can get their life back, right? With that energy and that motivation to kind of stay productive and stay in that high-achieving state that we want to stay in, right? All the while looking and feeling your best, of course. And we will talk about my favorite catchphrase, that it's not the food's fault. This is something that I love to discuss, and it's a real key piece of my kind of philosophy and the way I approach healing of the gut and all of that. But really it just means that when you finally get rid of the real root cause problem, then food doesn't give you those terrible symptoms anymore, right? I am living, walking, breathing proof of that, because I would never have been able to go into a restaurant and have a pizza before. And last night I went and had a pizza with my girlfriends, and I'm doing just fine today. So it's true, right? So there is also a show up bonus that I'm kind of wanting to talk a little bit about today. It is something that I created. It's a kind of a tool that I use sometimes in my practice with people, but it's called the Gut Healing Meal Plan. It's a $200 value. That's what I would charge for it in my practice as someone who wanted to buy it. But basically it's a program I designed to kind of get that belly feeling good, right? 6-day meal plan. It comes with a shopping list and a prep guide to teach you exactly how to prep it so you'll be all set up for the week, a week full of meals, 6 days. Give you your Sunday off kind of thing. But it's not something that, I want anyone to miss out on, right? I want to give this away to anyone who makes the effort to come and show up and join me for this masterclass. It's just my way of saying thank you. But it's a good show up bonus. Like, it's a big gift for me to give to you, right? I created it with a lot of different things in mind. Right? There's so many different ways to look at this, right? Gut health is so important, as we know, right? If the gut is not functioning properly, then, every other aspect of your health can become compromised, right? Your immune system, your skin, your mental function, your thinking, your emotions. There's so many things tied into gut health. Hormones, don't even get me started on how hormones are tied in. They are all tied in, from insulin to blood sugar and weight, to female hormones, right? We'll talk about menopause or endometriosis, PCOS, all the other different things that have to do with, hormone levels. But basically the function I've had in mind with this meal plan is not to completely do all the things, because a meal plan won't do that, right? A meal plan is not the secret magic bullet to fixing the gut. There's a lot more to it than that. But this meal plan is like a reset button, right? It really allows your gut to have a break, right? It allows you to kind of get a rest from that source of inflammation from food, which can really allow your body to have a little burst of healing, right? When you take a break, it's like a circuit breaker. You take a break from the things that are causing the inflammation. You get a little chance to reduce the symptoms, to get a little kind of rest for the gut, to like have a little healing burst, right? So it gives the gut a break from those common irritants that really cause inflammation there, like grains and legumes, for example. It incorporates gut-loving nutrients like collagen and glutamine, right? Those yummy things that you find in bone broth that we talk about. I've even also added in fermented foods, right, to help replenish the gut with that good bacteria. So as you know, right, I'm not a fan of restrictive eating. I'm not a fan of diets and cutting things out and no wheat and no dairy and all that stuff, right? It's not a long-term solution. That's why I'm saying this meal plan is amazing for what it can bring, but it doesn't give you that healing, that root cause long-term solution that more needs to come with, right? But it is a great circuit breaker. It can be a great thing to do for those 6 days to really get a jump start on starting a gut health protocol, right? It's amazing. So, and it will definitely give a reduction in symptoms, right? But it's a bit more, I hate to say that it's a band-aid approach, because I'm not into band-aid approaches, but it is that circuit breaker that allows healing to begin, right? So, not the food's fault, but when you pull certain things out of the diet that are causing inflammation, right, that are causing irritation, then in this short-term kind of period, it can facilitate a beginning of healing, right? By taking away the things that are causing those obstacles to healing. So I hope that makes sense. So I kind of created this program with a few key considerations. And these are things you can think about in your own life, when you're thinking about how you want to eat, or if you're having a stressful week, you've got a lot going on and you think, oh, this week, my gut could really use a break. I'm going to ease up on my eating style and follow these kind of considerations. So in the meal plan, it's like gluten and grain-free, right? So gluten can affect the microbiome composition and the diversity of the microbiome, and it can really enhance intestinal permeability, aka leaky gut, when the gut is in dysfunction. So if your gut's not working well, gluten will not be your friend. Do you know what I mean? Like, lucky for me now, gluten doesn't bother me at all. High quality organic sprouted wheat, I have no problem with. I could eat it 3 squares a day if I chose to, which I wouldn't, but if I ate it that often, it wouldn't bother me anymore. Now, regular wheat, grocery store shelf wheat, that kind of thing, I can get away with that on a weekly basis for sure, right? Any more than that, I feel like it would start to be too inflammatory and might cause damage, so I don't push it there. You know what I mean? Ginger, hey, how are you? Nice to see you, lady. Glad you could be here. So gluten is not in the meal plan, right? Following a gluten-free diet, of course, can also be helpful for people who are non-celiac, and definitely people who have autoimmune conditions, because we know leaky gut has come into that, situation, and it has caused some of these issues, right? So this gluten-free and grain-free plan uses nutrient-dense alternatives, say things like sweet potato, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, and this family too as well. I'm getting a brain fart now, the name of the family. Cruciferous, that's it, the cruciferous family. Broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, those kind of things. They have a compound in them called indole 3-carbinol, and that really supports immune function. So if you've got leaky gut going on, inflammation causing problems with the gut lining, this family can really be supportive if you can handle it, right? Fiber-rich foods loaded in through the meal plan as well. Fiber is good for a meal plan like this because it is linked to an increase in short-chain fatty acids, right? So it's like the microbiome eats the fiber, and the product of the microbiome's metabolism is these short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids really work on helping the gut lining to heal. They're kind of like a nutrient source for our own stomachs, right? So it's like, imagine your stomach lining needed to be fed. The food produced by the microbiome actually heals the gut lining. So eating fiber-rich foods is very important in supporting that gut function, right? Fiber also lowers something called C-reactive protein. C-reactive protein is something that shows up in the blood when you have a lot of inflammation going on. So fiber will reduce inflammation, and it shows up on a blood test in response to it, right? So it's a very scientifically proven, way to reduce inflammation in the body. And this meal plan includes fiber at every meal, right? Fruits and vegetables especially. Another part of the meal plan that I love, this show up bonus for coming to the masterclass that I've created, is high quality protein sources, right? Variety of amino acids are represented here with these protein sources, and they can help improve the gut microbiome and any type of healing that needs to go on, right? Like low collagen is a marker for inflammation in inflammatory bowel disease, and it is added to this plan to facilitate that healing, and it comes in the form of like bone broth, salmon, eggs, all different things like that, right? Also glutamine. Glutamine plays an important role in the gut microbiome and in immunity, and it's found in the chicken, spinach, cabbage that you see in this meal plan. What else can I tell you about it? Anti-inflammatory foods, of course, right? Things like polyphenols, antioxidants, all these great compounds that you find in your food that help manage inflammation. Polyphenols, for example, they're found in things like apples, berries, parsley, celery, kale. I could go on, right? But the polyphenol curcumin, you may have heard of that. We find that in turmeric. It's incorporated in the meal plan also because it's a very powerful anti-inflammatory agent. So all these things come together, right? We've got essential fat soluble antioxidants, right? Everybody knows antioxidants are great for fighting off that oxidative damage that can occur in response to inflammation. That's kind of like one of the sources of the leaky gut problem, right? So antioxidants like vitamin A, vitamin E, all of these things, they reduce that that oxidative stress that goes on in the body. So the meal plan is packed with vitamin A sources, right? Think of like orange, right? Sweet potatoes, carrots, dark leafy greens are another great source of vitamin A, like spinach, right? And then another antioxidant, as I mentioned, vitamin E, right? You get vitamin E through oils and seeds, right? That's a fat-soluble vitamin that's found in the nuts and seeds. So it's so good for inflammation, and it's all throughout the meal plan. And then the last thing too, pro and prebiotics. So if you watched my video on probiotics a couple of weeks ago, you'll know lots about this. If you haven't seen the video, it's in the guides. Just check it out I believe it's in the May guides, so it'll be in there. But there's probiotics and prebiotics loaded throughout the meal plan as well, right? As we all know, illness, stress in all its different forms can really impact the gut microbiome. So the program incorporates prebiotics and probiotics to help kind of bring that good bacteria into the gut again, right? Probiotics are found in things like fermented foods, sauerkraut, and they are live bacteria that can kind of help stabilize your own microbiome and the gut lining and reduce inflammation, right? Then there's the prebiotics. Those are those compounds that feed the probiotics. They feed the good bacteria in the gut. And they're added to this plan from things like flax seeds, bananas, garlic and onions, all sorts of different forms. And these foods really support digestive health by feeding the good bacteria, and they're really important to creating a healthy gut microbiome. So, I've done my homework on this meal plan. I've kind of incorporated all the big ones, the big players that help to kind of have an impact on the health of the gut. Little restrictive because there's a lot of things that are not included, right? Things are taken out of the diet in this meal plan, but that's why it's only for 6 days. It's like a circuit breaker, right? Like a reset for the gut to help you kind of get a jump start on doing the big whole full picture, which we talk about in the masterclass. So I really hope that you can join me. Remember, it's on May 29th at 10 a.m. It's going to be super fun, 10 a.m. Eastern time, sorry. And I will be, making some posts about that with the link to join. Just register. Even if you can't make it live, you can still have access to the replay and get all the great information that we'll be talking about on Monday. So, all sorts of fun things in the show up bonus. It's really worth your while to try to make the effort to come live, right? We got smoothies in there. We have rotisserie chicken, salmon, honey garlic salmon is really good. There's stir fries, there's skillet meals, desserts too. Lots of yummy things that are, not difficult, not crazy exotic or hard to make. All totally delicious, right? So very much worth the effort of trying to show up live. So that's enough talking for me on this Friday. I'm going to go enjoy the peace and quiet of having a house with no children in it. and I'm not really doing a heck of a lot. I'm probably going to be working through most of my weekend because I want to brush up for this masterclass and kind of make some new updates to my material and make sure it's as important and relevant as I can make it, and I'm going to show up on Monday morning refreshed and rejuvenated from a nice stress-free weekend. Knock on wood. With no kids, I have a better chance of that anyways, right? But yeah, so I wish you all a fantastic weekend as well, and I hope everybody is happy and healthy and your guts are feeling good this weekend. All right, that's it for me. I am over and out, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.